Yes, and so we see her scrubbing this dress, and then we get a montage via bubble.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Oh,
resist.
so good.
The bubbles show us that
shows
time
that
has
time
passed.
5, 6, 7, 8.
There's no business like show business.
Mamma mia, here I go again. My
Of the music
So
Listen, they can't all be winners.
they can't all be winners, and apparently they can't all be musicals.
God, is it so much? Listen, if you're gonna describe your film as a musical film, well, this is a problem we've run into before. Also, hi,
Hello.
welcome back. This is a 5, 6, 7, 8, a movie musical podcast where we review and recap movie
Except for
musicals.
today, apparently.
And except for today, apparently, because Grace
Okay.
pulled this movie. I'm not saying it's your fault, but I didn't pick
I
the
always
movie.
pick the movie anytime that a movie is bad, it's my fault.
Grace always picks the movies.
I would like to defend myself by saying that this movie was marketed as a disaster movie musical, as in like disaster films, like Twister, Titanic, disaster films kind of deal. And I was intrigued by what the fuck that meant. So I went for it. And today we're doing the, 1938?
1938.
In old Chicago, about the Great Chicago Fire.
Yes, a fictionalized.
Yes, very
account
fictionalized, as
of-
I had to do research afterwards, being like, who was the mayor during this time? Not
It
this
wasn't-
guy.
It wasn't a brother.
Nope.
It was not a brother. There is speculation of the origin of the fire being semi-true,
Yeah.
but there was no evidence. I also want to point out that before we tackle this, at the time, this was one of the most expensive movies ever
Yes.
made. The
budget.
Also, really quickly, I didn't clock what a disaster movie was because I don't think that's a movie genre I'm necessarily drawn
No.
to. So I've never seen Twister, and like, what are other disaster movies other than like the San Francisco?
Yeah.
with, like about the earthquake that came out right before
Yeah, well, and
this,
I thought
definitely
that was
inspired.
interesting.
They were like, "Oh, that worked
Let's
well.
do
Let's
it
do that again."
I mean, yeah, I go back to Titanic. Titanic's a
See-
disaster movie with a love story thrown in.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it culminates...
Another film I've
It
never
culminates
seen.
in a literal disaster where hundreds
Yeah.
of people die. And so does this.
Isn't that like every action movie though these days?
But I think the whole thing with like a disaster
Like,
movie is that it's something that is out of our control. Like with an action movie, like there's superheroes or there's something else or there's like a train that you have to save or whatever. But this is like no
does it have to be rooted in
natural causes.
I was
Maybe
gonna say, does it have to be rooted in truth? But even then, like Twister is fictionalized, San Francisco is fictionalized. They were potential, but I'm thinking of like The Day After Tomorrow.
yeah, I'd call that a
which-
disaster movie.
Is that, I forget what causes the chaos. Is it global warming or is
I
it
don't
aliens?
know. But then, oh god, what was that ship one where there was the giant wave that came? I'd call that a disaster. Maybe it's disaster movie is something where there's
The
a
Perfect Storm?
Yeah, I'd call that a disaster movie where it's like something, a natural element that we have to deal with, whether it's a fire, an iceberg, a twister, that kind of thing.
I think you're on.
Yeah.
I think you've hit the nail on the head of like it is what we call an act of God, essentially.
Yeah.
Even though the fire might have been started by a human.
But once it gets out of
or a
control,
cow,
that
in this
is
case.
because my homework is gonna be about the most terrifying thing that I learned, which is a fire whirl, which is the reason why this spread as wide as it did in real life.
Are those the fire
Yeah,
tornadoes?
terrifying.
Yeah.
Look it up.
I was just like, yeah, I know
I
exactly
watched
what that is.
videos. It was alarming.
I'm just thinking of one, a cow as white as milk.
A
Two,
fire.
a fire whirl.
Fire as whirly as dervish. I don't know.
3 brothers who run Chicago.
Step 1,
It
have a
somehow
cow.
turned into, like,
Step 2, start a fire.
Step 2, cause a fire.
Step 3,
Step 3.
profit.
No, not profit. Bad.
Sorry, this was
Step 3
Dion's list.
disaster
This
movie.
was Dion's list. It's fine.
I've also never heard that name
No,
pronounced.
me
that
neither.
way.
I thought it was Dion for a really long time.
All right.
Anyway.
I know. All right.
We should-
All right. This film came out in 1938. It takes place in 1870s because it is about the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. Yes. We start not in Chicago. We start on a prairie with a horse-drawn wagon, and it's a family. It's a mother, father, and 3 young boys. They're very Irish.
The minute they started speaking, I was like, "Oh, where's the subtitles?" Like,
where are the subtitles? And they're out. What's so funny is I assumed they were going west to east, but they were definitely going east to west to get to Chicago.
Yeah, gotta go through the.
Don't think of prairie land.
You gotta go through the depths of Ohio.
Prairies. They're on their way. This family of Irish immigrants are on their way to make their fortune in Chicago because Chicago is an up and coming city, and there's a lot of Irish immigrants there, so there's community. What was I going to say? Where did you watch this film?
YouTube.
I watched it on YouTube as well. Yeah. Were your subtitles very inconsistent?
Right, because it was closed captioning, so it was like happening at the moment. It wasn't like pre-written subtitles, so like most of them were not accurate.
It never gave me a single correct thing for anything the mom said.
And also it was really, because her accent was thick, and then also with like wind whistling, it interpreted that as applause, and so like, and so there's a moment, like, spoiler alert, in about 30 seconds the dad's gonna die, and you just see applause underneath it. And it was just like the wind whistling.
Oh, the prairie.
Oh no, agrees. It was so sad. All right. Anyway. They're traveling to Chicago next to a train track, and a big steam train comes on, and with the encouragement of his sons, the dad, Patrick, is like, "Oh, let's race this train," and like gallops his horses, like 2 horses that are pulling these wagons.
And the horses try to race, but then they lose because it's
obviously
a train, and the wagon hits a bump. And the hitch that the horses are attached to and that the father is sitting on becomes detached from the carriage, and the father is dragged behind
from the carriage.
Horses.
Yeah.
He is yeeted from the carriage, unfortunately to his death. Yeah. He doesn't die right away. He has a pretty gnarly head wound. Yeah. And the wife chases after him and the sons chase after him. And he ultimately succumbs to his injuries, and they bury him in the fields of wherever they are.
Yeah, but he does.
And it's incredibly traumatizing.
Very traumatizing
for
opening.
3 children.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and he does tell them, it's like, I know I'm dying. Just let it go. Go to Chicago, make your fortune, make a name for the O'Learys. Little does he know. So the mom, Molly, and the 3 kids are sort of left to fend for themselves, and they all go to Chicago.
Yes. There are 3 sons. The oldest is Jack. The middle is Diane. Not Dion. Diane. And the youngest is Bob. Who is like a teeny tot. And they just definitely incredibly traumatize us. Yeah. It's traumatizing to me. We started this film off very, very dark.
Aggressive. They get to Chicago, and it's like gross. Like the streets are made of mud.
We have a title card.
Oh, yes, we do.
Have
Sorry.
Chicago. Jesus. A city of easy money, easy ways, dirty, ugly, open day and night to newcomers, and that's as far as I got because I
didn't write the whole thing down.
It's an up and coming city, so it doesn't have the infrastructure yet for the massive amounts of people that are pouring into the city. Right. So, and also roads weren't paved. Back then.
So it is just like
it wasn't.
Mud.
That's the thing. It is ankle deep mud. Yeah. On these major thoroughfares, horse-drawn carriages, like clip-clopping through the mud, and then ladies
squelching through the mud,
leap out of their carriages to get
to the sidewalks
to stay dry and stay clean. The O'Leary family, Son's dad now, pull into Chicago, and Mom's like, "All right, we had not planned on me having to work because my husband was going to work, but now I am a single mother of 3. I need to find a job
immediately. Before we find a house, I need to find a job."
Yeah. Mom parks the carriage where she sees a girls wanted sign, and she's like, "Stay in the carriage. I'm going to be back. I'm going to go see what's up with this job."
So you know what the boys do?
Boys naturally
they don't stay in the carriage.
No, there's like a silly bit where there's some fancy society ladies whose carriage kind of gets stuck a little too far away from the sidewalk. Yeah. And they try to get passerby to help them out of the carriage.
That
so they
guy's
don't get
like,
mud all over their
hard
skirts.
no.
No, but the boys offer, and they start doing it. They start helping. There's like 3 ladies in the carriage. Yeah, and then the mom comes out and scolds them, and the boys naturally panic and drop the lady that they're carrying and get mud all over her, and the woman starts to freak out. And mom immediately gets an idea, and she goes, oh, you know what, it's not that bad. If you have a good laundress, like, they can get that mud out. And the lady's like,
no one in Chicago can get the mud out of this dress.
No. And mom's like, wanna bet? And
she's like, I will pay you. She's like, no. I will tell you the price when I am done. And I'm like, yes, Mom.
Yes, and so we see her scrubbing this dress, and then we get a montage via bubble.
Yeah.
I couldn't resist.
Oh, it was so good.
The bubbles show us that time has passed.
So... then we sort of
cut forward like 12 years.
Something like that, yeah. Like, they're grown-ass adult men at this point.
So I guess it's not 1870 when they get to Chicago.
Nah.
It's probably like 1855.
Something like that, yeah.
Because we definitely have at least 10, if not 15 years
I'm going to say,
via bubble.
Because those kids look like they're anywhere from like 4 to 8, so I'm going to say it's been at least 15 to 20 years, given their ages.
Yeah, at the end of this sequence.
Exactly.
But we learn time has indeed passed. Yes. Molly, is that her name? Molly O'Leary has built a thriving laundress, French cleaner business. And she's doing very, very well for herself. She has raised 3 sons who are, for the most part, well-behaved. The oldest, Jack, has become a lawyer. And he's like a fresh lawyer. He just has like his first case this week. The youngest, Bob, works for Mom's laundry company along with a German
milkmaid vibe, like
milkmaid named Gretchen.
Of course.
Who they're gonna fall in love. Spoilers.
Yeah.
And then the middle son, Dion, has become like not the ne'er-do-well, but is a bit of a problem child where he did not follow an honest trade like Jack. He's into
gambling.
He's a gambler. He's a good gambler.
He's a good gambler, but like not like in our distinction of gamblers versus gangsters, he's like on his way to becoming a gangster, I would say.
Yes, he's not a gangster
now,
yet. He's
Anna,
gangster light.
We have a very obvious gangster with Dion.
We do.
Now we have 2 more brothers. Now between Jack and Bob, who would you say is the waiter, and who is the goon?
I was talking to my mom about this actually, because my mom watched this film with me, and I had my cup of coffee this morning, and I was just like, who is the waiter and who was the goon? Because here's the thing, I think Gil Warren is the obvious gangster.
Oh yeah,
Dion is definitely on his way, but if in terms of like gangsterdom,
Dion's like a swindler. He is the biggest swindler I think we've seen yet in terms of like the bullshit that he pulls later.
Oh, yeah. In terms of
Jack and Bob,
I don't think either of the brothers are goons or waiters. I guess like maybe Jack is the waiter and that he just like is trying so hard to be a good person.
Oh, see, I think like Jack is a goon just because he just keeps getting bamboozled by his brother. Like, it happens so many times. And then Bob's just there doing his job, like helping his mom, married, has a kid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Bob's definitely a waiter in that regard. But in terms of like, here's the thing, I don't think of our major characters as waiters.
Nah, that's fair.
I think they tend to be minor characters because they are literally waiters. They are side characters.
I would say of the...
And so my mom's suggestion of the waiter was that, like maybe a bit of Belle's maid. But honestly, the bartender at the saloon that they open was just like trying to do his goddamn job.
God, so much.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, so I was just curious because there were 3 and one very obvious gangster of the 3. Anyway.
Yes, one very, very obvious gangster. This is a gangster forward film.
Yeah. Mom, Molly, is really judgmental of Dion's gambling career path because, you know, he shows up with like a wad of money and she's like, how did you get that? And he was like, oh, you know, it was horse racing. It was really easy. There's only 8 horses, so I just bet on one and then shot the other 7. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like, fucking A.
He's also like, oh, someone paid me. And she was like, yeah, how? Why did you get paid?
Yeah, exactly. While there's washing, there's one tablecloth that's sent to her from this guy, Gil Warren, who's a local saloon owner, gangster kind of vibe.
Influential man of society in that he definitely runs like gangster activities out of his saloon. And also, what was Prohibition like at this time? What was like...
Was this... No, this wasn't Prohibition.
No, this is pre-Prohibition, but you'll notice that And actually, this is a question because you see them serving alcohol, but they only serve beer. And I wonder if, one, they weren't allowed to portray liquor on screen.
True.
But two, I was just like, what was the liquor atmosphere in 1870s America?
Yeah.
Honestly, people were drinking beer more than water. Probably,
Yeah, because it was
cleaner.
Yeah, with the alcohol in it, it was safer. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about that.
One of the orders for the laundromat is this like large tablecloth. The mom takes a look at it and she's like, what the fuck is this drying?
I told
all
them
the sons
no
are
more
home.
tablecloths with drying. Clean it up and get it out of here. And the sons are
Clean it
just
up.
like, whoa, 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 whoa,
But-
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa. And the sons kind of like switch it around and bop it, flip it, reverse it. And they realize that it's not just like a random drawing, it's a map. So this map, drawn by devious local businessman Gil Warren, shows that, so there is a current plan, a public plan to build a tram line, like public transit, through the neighborhood. It has already been approved for this major street.
Yes.
But this drawing shows that the tram line is actually going to be placed on another street, and it's not public knowledge. So Gil and his cronies, or what they're going to do is, without telling anyone why, they're going to buy up a bunch of real estate on this street so that when the tram line actually runs on it,
Then
it'll
it's
like
their businesses.
triple in value.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, Dion sees this.
I don't know if they are the ones that get to choose where the railroad
I think
goes.
that they
and
have. I
they-
think they're bribing politicians that choose. That's the vibe that I get.
And that, like, it's been announced it's going to be this one, but they're going to make sure it actually goes on this other street.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's shady business.
Shady business.
I do want to really, really quickly say, before this scene, we did establish Bob, the youngest, works for the family, and this is where we meet Gretchen, and we also meet Daisy, the milk
right.
cow, who's going to come back
Yeah.
later. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, and there is a really
Um,
quick scene in which Bob and Gretchen
Gretchen
kiss
make
because
out.
the cow pushes them, and so it kind of also hints that the cow likes to kick things.
Yes.
So,
Question. When Dion arrives in this scene, he gets dropped off by a paddy wagon, implying he spent the night in jail.
I think so.
And the only reason I'm calling it a paddy wagon is that it literally says paddy wagon on the side.
Yeah. Dion sees this map and is just like, what would be great is if that corner there, because it's like sort of a three-way cross-section, Y cross-section. He's like, if at that center corner, I could get that area and open a saloon, it would be the hottest place in town. I would make so much money. However, someone apparently has already laid dibs to that. Someone with the name B. Fawcett. And so, to remember the name, he rips a chunk out of the tablecloth because apparently one initial and one name is too much. It's
The
like,
mom's like,
I was like,
"Why?"
sir, this is your mother's business. Like, anyway.
It also implies that Gil Warren definitely has a monopoly on saloons.
Yes.
And by opening up his own, Dion would be going into direct competition with Gil Warren, but he also is he knows Gil Warren, and they kind of like came up together. So it's it's competition, but it's not
danger competition, or at least not
yeah.
yet. So anyway, cut to Dion goes to Warren's saloon.
Yes.
And there's like a stage with performing girls in the background. Showgirls. And we get our song. One of them. One of like the 3 or 4 songs.
Old Virginie.
Old Virginie. Oh, yay. Which is sung by this sort of saloon bar singer called Belle Fawcett. Ta-da!
Oh, get it? He didn't need to rip that up. He's gonna figure it out 30 seconds later.
Exactly. And Belle has a nice, like, sort of contralto voice. The song is fine. There's no point to it except for to draw Dion's attention to her.
Oh, and he gets immediate heart
eyes. And immediate harassment vibes.
To the point where, all right, after this number concludes,
yeah,
can you help me understand what happened? So Belle
So there's like a charity
makes an announcement.
thing.
The next number is something that's famous. It's called Living Statues, and they're going to, whoever like bids the most money for their performance, it's going to go to charity. I do want to say that it's established in this scene, I believe, that Gil Warren specifically is the one who had brought Belle from New York, where she was the highest paid showgirl, and he's paying her double what she was making in New York to work in Chicago.
Right.
So she's not just like a random showgirl off the street.
No, she's like a seasoned performer.
Yeah.
So I think the whole thing with like the living statues is that they're like doing this bidding, and it's not really clear what for, and then Dion comes up and is like, I will pay $100 to see Belle as Venus. So I think the whole, like, Venus de Milo, it's, like, hinted at being sort of, like, a nude statue or whatever. And so he's paying specifically to see her in that pose, I guess, which is what the show is supposed to be. This is all hypothetical. It is not.
I was really confused by this scene simply because obviously the bidding starts at like $1, $2, and Dion's like $100, and they accept the bid, and he's like pulled aside by an attendant.
At first, Belle is like, oh, this guy has jokes. And then Warren pulls her over and is like, accept the money. And so she does. And then she's like, okay, come out back. And then he's immediately thrown out of the building by Warren.
Yeah, totally scammed. Scammed. Oh, Grace, money math. How much was $100 in 1871?
One moment, please.
In the U.S.
It's like almost $2,500.
Wow. Cut to later. The show has ended. It's the end of the night. Belle gets into a carriage to go home. And guess who's in her carriage?
Like a fucking creep.
Dion is in her carriage. She screams and tries to get the driver. Says he's already in love with her, and he paid the driver to
also sus. Fire the driver.
To not, like,
to stop or call the cops or
Yeah, if he hears anything suspicious, to turn the other way.
Oh my God.
Dion's like, I'm already in love with you, Belle. And she's like, get the
She's
fuck
like, what the
off
fuck
of
are
me.
you talking about? Like, yeah.
And she says, like, I don't like the cheap trick that you pulled in there. And he just refuses to take fucking no for an answer.
Yeah,
and
he's
she,
a real bad guy.
Like, succumbs to his charms.
I wouldn't say that. At least not yet. She does
not
later,
yet,
which I didn't like. Because he's like, so I think she's trying to get out of this situation of being alone with him. And because he's like,
I understand my notes now.
I want to talk to you about this, like, business, about something. He doesn't say what.
I got a business proposition for you, lady.
I know. And she's like, well, then take me for a drink, trying to get back into public. Smart. And he was like,
smart.
no, we need somewhere more private. Take me to your house. And she says, okay. And he sort of gets off her and sits next to her. And then
tells the driver to go to, if they can go to her house now.
Right. And so they get to her house. And there's like, because everything is horse-drawn carriages at this point, there's like a water trough outside of her house. And so he gets out and she's just like, oh, this is where I live. And then he's like, cool, let's go inside. And she pushes him into the water trough, gets back in the carriage and is like, get me the fuck out of here. And then takes off.
And Dion gets out of the water trough soaking wet and is just like, what a woman.
God, what an asshole. And he just gets worse.
Cut to home, maybe the next day. It's not important. Mom O'Leary discovers Gretchen and Bob, and it's just like, oh, great, cool, totally bless this union. She says they can get married, even though, like, Gretchen's her best ironer, so she's, like, losing her best worker or whatever. But Mom goes back inside and discovers Dion inside as well, and he says he's in love, and he's, like, getting dressed for a date to, like, go call on this girl.
Yeah.
And Mom's, like, preening over him and, like, super, super happy that, like, her sons are finding love. And then she realizes he's wearing one of the shirts of one of her clients. Like, he's not wearing his own shirt. She's like, get the fuck off.
Stop
Take that
stealing.
off. Yeah. But he gets away with it because at that moment Jack comes in, and it turns out he's won his first case as a lawyer, which is super, super exciting. He's going to get his name in the paper. The judge said it was like one of the best arguments he's heard in a while.
But he's also not getting paid.
How much did you make? And he was like, I didn't get paid. And it's because Jack has like a heart of gold, and the guy he was defending has like 2 pennies to his name. And he was like, I couldn't good conscience take money. And Dion's like, I would have.
It's like, yes, Dion, we know. Thank you.
Speaking of Dion, cut to Belle's house.
Yep.
Belle has a maid named Hattie. It is the end of the night. Belle has Hattie help her out of her dress, and Hattie comments that, that guy sent more champagne and flowers, that guy being Dion.
It's been a couple days, at the very least, since his original assault.
And Belle's still not having it. She has Hattie help her get out of her corset and then dismisses Hattie. Belle goes to her vanity to start taking off her makeup, and in the reflection of the mirror, she sees Dion in her personal bedroom.
Breaking and entering.
He is snuck in, and she, understandably, completely screams and throws stuff at him, to the point where I got a bit of Kate destroys a tavern energy.
there was a bit of Rex the Tavern energy.
Rex a Tavern, Kate Rex a Tavern. Just throwing anything she can get her hands on and screaming bloody murder at him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Understandably.
Yeah.
Hattie comes into the cacophony, discovers the situation,
and goes running for the cops.
Flings her arms in the air and goes to find a cop. At this point, now Dion is alone again with Belle.
God.
They wrestle.
Wrestle on the ground.
Belle puts up a fight, but Dion overpowers her, holds her down to the ground, like with her arms over her head, and kisses her.
Yeah. Wasn't great.
Hated it.
Hated that.
Kept talking about how much he can't stop thinking about her, and she's just like, get the fuck off of me. He keeps kissing her.
And this is where she sort of, quote unquote, succumbs to his charms, which I fucking hated.
And he releases her arms, and then she kisses him back.
Right.
But
then he finally ends up telling her about what he wants, which is because she has claimed this one area.
I want you.
And he's like,
and I also want that property.
And like, I think that we could build a really good place together with you as sort of the headliner and then me running the business of the bar. And she's like, why the fuck didn't you just come to me and say I have a business deal to start with? I would have listened. I'm a businesswoman. And he was just like, oh, oops. And now they're together.
I'm also in love with you. Yeah. Now they're together in the office as well as the bedroom. And then Hattie comes in at the end and like, she's like, right this way, officer, and discovers them making out. And the officer's like, why
am I here?
Why am I here?
Yeah. Anyway, cut to their saloon.
First cut to Diane and Belle getting dinner with the senator. Super, super quickly, which is to convince the senator to put up money for the saloon, and the senator agrees to their proposition.
How long was your movie?
Oh, we didn't talk about this. How long was your
90
movie?
minutes.
I watched the long version because that's all I could find on YouTube.
Oh no, I watched the short version because that's what I found on YouTube.
I wish I had found the short version.
I was about to say, you had mentioned one thing and I was just like, I don't actually remember that or have notes about that.
What was the other scene?
Jack coming home and saying he won his first case, but like the whole thing about Dion stealing a shirt, I was like, oh, I don't actually remember that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. All right, there's probably gonna be a couple of that, but yeah.
Okay,
there's a very brief scene where they get the senator to front some money for the club, and they also a very quick scene afterwards where they bribe a city commissioner for the same thing.
Cool.
And then cut to their club. It's opening night. Mm-hmm. Is that what they say when restaurants open? The club is called, the proper name is The Senate, and then the subtitle is Dion and Belle's Place.
Yes. Looks like business is going great. Belle has a performance. The song is called In Old Chicago. Title use. Big can energy for this song. There's like a bunch of dancers, bunch of skirts, lots of bopping, whole deal. Now, the senator that he apparently bribed shows up.
No, he didn't bribe the senator. He bribes the commissioner.
Okay.
He just asks the senator and
money.
Says, like, you'll have dinner with us. Yeah, to put up money and, like, establishes a good working relationship with the senator. Because if you ever need any money, go to the senator.
Right. Now, the senator comes to this evening and brings along his daughter, who's...
his beautiful 20-something daughter.
Yeah, young 20-something socialite daughter, who, like, Dion, like, sort of has a quick eye for.
They catch each other's eyes.
Yeah, it's like a question mark kind of deal. So he sits them at a table, like, near the stage, etc. And who else should arrive tonight but Warren, who's the guy who owns the other saloon called The Hub.
I think he was invited. It's
absolutely.
Not that he wasn't invited and shows up anyway. He was absolutely invited in a show of good faith.
Right, but, you know, Dion definitely stole Warren's main act by taking up with Belle. Now, Warren comes in and sort of asks for a private conversation with Dion. So they go to his office, and Warren says, listen, I will close the Hub, making you the only business in town for this sort of thing, if you promise to back me in my bid for mayor, so that I can be mayor and you sort of have to promise me your vote, with the hint that the area that he's from, which is called the Patch, which is a lot of Irish immigrants, would also support him.
Dion now, and also if he becomes the sole saloon owner, is going to become even more influential in this predominantly Irish American neighborhood called the Patch.
Yes.
And the Patch is huge.
Yes.
It's also brought up earlier in that scene with the senator's daughter. When Dion walks off, she makes a comment that he's cute for someone from the Patch.
Right.
Like, there's definitely a stigma about these lower class Irish immigrants just trying to make a living in America.
Right. In very sort of like quickly built housing.
Squalid housing. Yeah.
However, Warren does not explicitly state, for this you must get me the votes of the Patch, but it's hinted at. And so Dion says yes.
Because Dion is influential.
Right. Dion says, yes, I agree to vote for you and support you. But he doesn't specifically say, I agree to get the Patch to vote for you.
Correct. Gil Warren also gives him a check for $10,000.
Big ol' bribe.
Which, Grace, how much money was $10,000 worth in 1871?
One moment, please.
Oh my God, it's probably like millions.
Like $226,500.
Oh, that's less than I thought. Still a lot.
Still a good chunk.
Dion agrees. He's like, I'm going to give you my support. He takes Warren's money. But you're right. He doesn't explicitly say, I will get the Patch to vote. He does say, I will vote for you. They exit Dion's office. They go back out to the main area and watch Belle perform again. Emma, the senator's daughter, keeps trying to catch Dion's eye, but he only has eyes for Belle. Cut to later in Dion's office at the end of the night. Dion and Belle are alone. Dion tells Belle about Warren's offer. And Belle says, I think that's a bad idea. Like, I don't know what kind of mayor he would be, but I'm not sure that's something what we want. And Dion's like, oh, no. I'm not going to actually do what he asked me to do.
No.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to play him dirty. I'm not going to get the Patch to vote for Warren, even though I said I would.
No, it's like, I will vote for him, which is what I promised.
Yeah.
However, I will not get the Patch to vote for him because I didn't explicitly promise that.
I took his money and I said yes to the thing he explicitly asked me to do. Nothing more, nothing less. This is how you business.
So, cut to a group of gentlemen asking Jack, I think he's the eldest brother, to run for mayor as a part of this new reform party, because that's very much what Jack is about in terms of like cleaning up Chicago, getting rid of the housing that's dangerous, and building a full city which everyone can live in communally. Or is there a scene that's cut?
Did you have the courtroom scene?
No.
Where Jack is a lawyer?
No.
Oh, wait.
Oh, tell me.
This is like a major scene. Okay.
This is super fun, guys. We got two different movies here.
All right. Back in the office with Dion and Belle, after they have that conversation about how Dion's going to do Warren dirty. Yeah. So this whole movie, Dion has a sidekick goon, essentially.
Oh, that is our true goon.
Played by Andy Devine. Yeah. And they bring in someone who has been caught committing election fraud. That's a recurring theme, and it's established that Gil Warren also has people commit election fraud for him later. But this is essentially, this guy was registering under multiple names to commit election fraud. Yeah. And it's one of Dion's people. Right. And he has to go to court. Oh. Like, this guy, this Mitchell, Edward Mitchell is the guy's name. Cut to the court the next day. Dion is with Edward Mitchell because, again, like neighborhood support. Yeah. But Dion's got it all taken care of. He knows the judge. He knows the lawyer. Yeah. He's got it all faded, and he's paid everyone off. Then, plot twist, there's a last-minute 11th hour change of both judge and lawyer. Oh, no. And they're both like, fuck. Because this guy's super guilty. Yeah. But it turns out the judge they don't know, but the new lawyer is Jack.
Oh, no.
Dion's brother. And Dion's like, great. They get to the courtroom, and Dion's like, Jack's gonna take care of this. Jack's not gonna do me dirty.
Nah.
And then Jack is like, by the book, like, Your Honor, this, because Jack's the
he's the opposing counsel.
He's opposing counsel. And then Jack's like, Your Honor, this man is super, super guilty for X, Y, and Z. And Diane's like,
Fuck!
What the fuck? But Jack only has one witness, so he calls this witness up to the stand, and it's this woman named Carrie Donahue who is like says like she saw this dude Edward Mitchell registering under 4 different names because she was working at the election.
She was a poll worker, yeah.
She's like, I saw him kept coming back, and on the 4th time he said he was a bishop, and I was like, bullshit, you
what?
Are. But at this point, like, the defendant, like, makes a comment being about that, and it's revealed that this woman is the guy's wife.
Oh.
And so Diane's like, Your Honor, and, like, whispers to the lawyer, and Diane's lawyer is like, Your Honor, that testimony needs to be stricken from the record. This woman is married and cannot testify against her husband, and the case is fully dismissed.
This puts the entire plot twist at the end into, like, they just, like, show exactly what happens again.
Yeah. It's so weird. Jack fully loses the case, and the judge kind of gives him a scolding, being like, next time you be a lawyer, have more than one witness and, like, double check your sources.
Which, fair.
Check your work. But after this, Diane gets to introduce Belle to Jack because Belle tagged along to this court.
Right.
And Jack's, like, super happy-go-lucky and being like, oh, it's so nice to meet you, even though I just lost
and got my
a case.
shit handed to me by a judge in my professional setting.
Yeah. Jack also makes a not-so-veiled threat to Belle to, like, keep an eye on Diane because his star is rising so fast. And Jack's like, I'd hate to have to knock him down a few pegs because, again, Jack's very by the book and knows that Diane is a swindler. Yeah. All right, and Belle says, Jack, I wish you were running for mayor instead of Gil Warren. And then cut to that meeting where a bunch of men are like, Jack, we want you to run for mayor.
This makes way more sense. They cut a very important scene.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
And Jack's like, yes, I will run.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cut to a scene that shows that Diane fully set this entire thing up. He's like, I paid this council. I created them from scratch. My brother's going to be easier to...
built you.
I know. My brother's going to be easier to control than Warren.
Mm-hmm.
He like, trusts me so I can manipulate him easier. Like, big swindle energy.
Then do you have the scene where Jack and Diane play pool?
Yes.
All right, so that's immediately after that scene where they're playing pool as brothers do,
Yeah.
and Diane says, like, I want to help you, and I'm going to support you, but I can't publicly support you. Because he's a swindler.
And Jack is just sort of like, listen, I'm not going to treat you any different. I would love your support, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to treat you any differently if I win as mayor. I'm not going to go easy on you.
Yeah.
And so he says that very explicitly, and Diane is obviously under the impression that he would be able to control.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, okay. That he would be able to control him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, lawyer brother.
Lawyer bro. Cut to the O'Leary house. Is that what you have
cut to
next?
the O'Leary house.
So they're all singing together around a piano.
Yeah. It's the mom's birthday.
Yeah.
And clearly time has passed because all 3 brothers are home. Gretchen, Bob's wife, is there. They've had a baby now. And it's the mom's birthday. And they all pooled their money and they gave her a big portrait of their father.
Yeah. And she loves
and
it.
It's a nice scene.
It's just a really nice gesture. She puts it like right above the piano so that she can look at him while she's playing. It's like a whole deal.
Yeah. And they sing and they dance and they do like an Irish
jig,
which is
and like a group
cute.
dance, which was really adorable.
And then Mom kind of pulls Diane aside after seeing Bob and Gretchen being like, I want you to get married.
Yeah.
Diane's like,
I
great,
like Belle.
I really want you to meet Belle.
Yeah.
And I want to marry Belle. And she's like, I don't want to meet that hussy who works in a saloon. And Diane's like, Mom, it's modern times.
Modern times.
1870. Yeah. And Mom says, I don't want a daughter-in-law who's kicking her heels in the air for everyone to see. So Mom's just digging in her heels.
Yeah, big hard no on that one.
Pun intended.
So Diane sort of
there is
changes...
a knock at the door.
Yes, there is a knock at the door, and a carriage has arrived, and Diane is just like, oh, Mom, it's a beautiful night, like, let's go on a carriage ride, and she's, like, a little bit tipsy
it's like a surprise he's done for
and she's, like, a little tipsy on beer at this point, and so she's just like, yeah, absolutely, so she throws on her jacket and her bonnet, whatever, and then gets into this carriage, surprise, y'all, 'tis a swindle, and Belle is in the carriage, and Diane... Bamboozled, and Diane fully forces them to sit together and holds them both down. Dude is like real physical. Don't like that at all.
Didn't like that at all. And Mom is having none of it. I think Diane just thought like, oh, I'll get them in the same room and
what
everything
could
will be
go wrong?
hunky-dory. Mom's like, absolutely
What an
not.
absolute
Fuck this.
dumbo.
Mom gets out of the carriage,
she stops
storms
it and
off.
walks home.
Yeah. And Belle asks to be taken home as well. I don't remember if Diane had been like, oh, I've already told my mom and she's totally like wants to do this.
I don't know what Belle thought was going to happen.
It doesn't go
but
well.
how Mom reacts to Belle is a big shock to Belle. And she's really insulted by some of the stuff that Mom says. And so she also gets out of the carriage and is just like, I just want to go home. This was horrible. Yeah. Cut to Jack giving a stump speech.
Yeah, okay. Cut to a rally.
I feel like Jack I have to, every cut to, I have to add a question mark to be like, is that what happens next?
Yeah, it's a political rally for Jack, and he's giving a speech.
But it's not, it's like sparsely attended, I'll be honest.
It is. But he's clearly, one of his major talking points is that he wants to reform the Patch, which is, again, that big neighborhood, definitely implying that there's a lot of organized crime there. Yeah. And he says, like, shall the Patch run Chicago or shall Chicago run the Patch? I want to clean it up or wipe it out. Bob and Gretchen are there giving their support to Jack. And Diane and Belle are watching the rally, but, like, behind a column
they, like,
don't want
in
to
a carriage.
Yeah, like, pay no attention to these two people behind the curtain. Because they can't be publicly seen attending this rally.
Right, because he has publicly thrown his support behind Warren.
Yes, and Diane gets an idea, a scheme, if you will. A swindle. To have, because as we said, there's been a lot of election fraud in the past, and Diane knows for certain that Gil Warren is definitely going to employ election fraud to ensure that he wins this election. He's gonna he wants the Patch to vote for him, but he also has all his lackeys, who are the same people that were guilty of what that other guy was doing, like repeat voting. Yeah. To sway the election. So Diane schemes a way to have all of Gil Warren's lackeys not be able to vote on election day. Diane also blackmails that commissioner that he's been paying on the side to help him with this.
Basically do something at a rally that Warren is throwing but like the day before election night.
Yeah, it's the day before election night. Cut to this massive party for Gil Warren that Diane is publicly attending. Belle is there. It's huge. There's, I think, 500 extras in this scene alone.
It's wild. So we see the commissioner come in, and there's this little, like, okay symbol that they signal that they keep giving each other just to confirm that everything is going as planned. The commissioner has made sure that the entire police department is waiting outside, and then he goes in and accidentally, quote-unquote, tosses beer over the biggest guy there, and basically just starts this huge fucking riot of a fight.
Starts a brawl.
Yeah, big brawl energy. Yeah. And as soon as, like, more than 4 people start fighting, the police come in, and then everyone starts fighting, and everyone gets arrested. All of the election
Diane and Belle, like,
sneak
escape
away
out the side door because they knew it was going to happen, but every single attendee is arrested. Cut to the jail, we see Gil Warren, like, desperately trying to get his people out of jail because, like, they should, like, it was just a fight. Like, they should get out after a couple hours. Like, they should be fine. But the commissioner who is there is like, sorry, no, they're actually going to be held for 24 hours without bail because of suspicions. Yes. And Warren's like, what?
Sus.
Like, that's not possible. I need them. They're going to vote for me. And the commissioner's just like, sucks to suck. Yep. This is what's happening.
And then he runs to try and find a judge to overturn this. And then he finds out that every single judge in the Patch have gone together on some, like, hunting retreat
hunting trip
that has definitely been set up by Diane. So
yeah, Diane has done every place that Warren would want to go to fix this solution, like going to another commissioner, going to the judge, like trying to do this. Diane has already taken care of it. Those people are not there. To the point, finally, Warren goes to Diane directly for help. Just like, and Diane's like, you thought.
Surprise, motherfucker! Like,
fully admit, like, bad move. Like, Diane should have been like,
Diane likes to brag.
I don't know what.
Diane likes to brag, and this is his big downfall every single time. Warren goes, and it's just like, please, like, these guys, you gotta help me out. And he's just like, ooh, I did what I said that I would do, but you know what? Actually, I'm not for you. I've set up my brother to be mayor, and I'm gonna get rid of you completely, and you're not gonna be mayor, and you're not gonna have your saloon, and honestly, this is better off for me. We O'Learys are a strange tribe, he says.
Jack, unsurprisingly, wins the
Elected
mayorship.
mayor. Yep.
Cut to the Senate Club, another show.
Another pointless song.
Time has passed, maybe like a week has passed.
This time
and
without
Dion is
Bubble.
personally delivered. Honestly, if every transition was via Bubble, I would have enjoyed this film more. Dion is hand-delivered a newspaper. Front headline, Jack has, as mayor, has declared war on the patch. And Dion's like, wow, he's really serious about this. Didn't think that. Just got kind of befuddled.
Yeah. And also it names Dion explicitly in this newspaper article. Like, so, cut to this next scene. I'm pretty sure it takes place at Belle's place, because there's like the bedroom and it looks similar to the previous place.
I can't remember.
Now,
dear
Belle
leader,
is there,
dear
and
listeners.
so is Jack. Jack is there to have a conversation with her, probably in reference to Belle's conversation with him in the scene that I didn't see, where she was just like, oh, it'd be great if you would be mayor. And he's like, hey, listen, I have this plan. I'm gonna clean up the patch, or I'm gonna get rid of it completely, because it's not a safe area.
Or I'm gonna die trying,
because it's not a safe place. But however, Dion's in a place, he's like starting down some illegal shit with like campaign fraud and like election fraud and who knows what else. I want you to testify against him so that we can stop him, get him back on the right path, and we can clean this whole area up. And this is when Dion comes in, like sort of, I think he has like flowers or something, and overhears Jack saying, you need to testify against him in court, and immediately like gets furious. And this is what I was talking about before, where he likes to brag, where he reveals to Jack that the whole reason he was elected was because of his underhanded shit. He's like, that council that asked you to run, that was me. Like, the thing that happened, the fight that got all of those other, like, your competition arrested, that was me. You're fucking welcome. And Jack, this is a great scene. Like, Jack is like, why would you do this? He's like, I don't know. Maybe just to see Ma's face whenever, like, to ride in the carriage with you as mayor. Maybe it's to have someone that's more easily to control. I don't know. Like, it's real fucking devious. And honestly, he should not have revealed that he was in charge of this entire debacle. But he likes to brag, and he was super angry.
Yeah.
So, but Dion ends up walking out on Belle, because he feels like she's fully betrayed him.
Yeah, he assumes
that she's already
going
agreed to
do
this
what Jack has
thing.
asked of her. Yeah.
So,
cut to Belle back in Belle's apartment. She's packing to leave Chicago. She's done. She's heartbroken. Dion, as to his nature, comes in, breaks in, restrains her again, and then asks for her forgiveness.
And asks her to marry him.
Marry him tonight. He's already got the license and the ring, and he's like, I want to be with you forever. I love you so much. Jack can marry them because he's the mayor. Cut to Jack's office, where Jack's having a meeting talking about how the patch is quote-unquote a fire trap because the buildings are only made of pine. There's no hydrants. It's like there's no good running water. He wants to condemn the whole district, but he's interrupted in this meeting because like his assistant comes in being like, hey, it's super important you come out. He comes out of this meeting, surprise, Dion and Belle are in his office. Dion's like, I've been a fool. I'm so sorry.
I want to change my ways.
Will you marry us?
Marry this woman. Like,
and Jack's like, oh, thank God. I really liked what Jack was like to his assistant being like, can I marry them? Am I allowed to do that?
I don't know.
Like, yes.
But turns out he can. So he marries the couple, do you take, etc.
And then as soon as the rings are on the fingers and it is
legal, they're like, oh, we should go on our honeymoon. He was like, before that, I have some business that I just want to chat with you both about. Yeah, this is Dion. He's like, remember that investigation that you opened up against me and you were going to have her testify? Super do that now that she's my wife and can't testify against me in open court. And Jack is furious because he has been bamboozled yet again.
And also, Belle is
Oh
furious.
yeah, she's
because
been
Belle's
used.
like, what the fuck did you mean? She was fully used. That like this whole impulsive, like I got the license in the ring. She thought it was romance, and it was solely Dion covering his own butt. And this culminates in a big fight between the brothers.
Scene.
Jack punches Dion in the face. Oh my god, the fake
it's so good. I loved it.
Stage choreography. It's so good.
Oh man, the big like backward roll over the desk. Oh, beautiful. Chef's kiss. Loved it. But honestly, Dion thinks that he's gonna win this fight, but Jack beats the shit out of him and like knocks him unconscious.
And it ends with Jack saying, "This is truly the worst thing Dion has ever did. He'll never forgive him. He'll wipe out the patch and Dion along with it, and he never wants to see him again."
Dion stumbles out. Cut to Mom, Mrs. O'Leary, in the barn. Daisy has had a calf. There's a baby cow. And she's sort of helping them. And then Gretchen comes running in and is like, there's been a fight
between Jack and Dion. She also tells Ma that Dion and Belle got married. And Ma's like, that's even worse than the fight.
And so in her distress, she runs out, but leaves a lamp in the barn. And we see, like, there's, like, a slam of the door that startles Daisy the cow, and she, like, kicks back and knocks the lamp over. Thus begins.
Yes. We have already established Daisy is a kickin' lady. So Gretchen and Ma O'Leary have left the barn in their haste to go break up this marriage and figure out what the fuck's going on with Jack and Dion, not seeing the lantern be kicked over and then the subsequent fire. They, like, don't even get far. They get to, like, the porch of the house, and they turn, like, neighbors are like, hey, lady, your barn is on fire. The entire barn is up on fire. And a little bit of history, it was just, like, the worst possible conditions in Chicago for this fire. They had 3 months of no rain. It was a really, really windy day. And also, as we established in that earlier scene, the entire neighborhood that the patch is
made of
it's all like, dry pine.
Which burns so quickly.
Like, there's no stone buildings because they were cheaply constructed. Yeah.
So,
cut to what is going to be an extremely long sequence. Firemen come to the house, the O'Leary house catches on fire, then the neighbor's house catches on fire, and pretty soon the whole neighborhood is starting to go up in flames. Cut to the Senate, Dion is there nursing his wounds, and he's told about the fire.
Warren is there, and some of his goons are
there.
like, oh, burning down the patch? That sounds like something your brother would do since he threatened to burn it down anyway. Dion is just like, you know what? That would just be fucking like my brother to just burn it down. And so he is under the assumption that this is all Jack's fault and this fire was runs to find out what's going on. And he's like, everyone wait here. Now Warren is just like, bullshit. I've been swindled by these brothers before. I guarantee you he's in on it. Let's get everyone together somewhere else and like form a posse gang.
So Dion goes to find Jack to confront him. We get a lot of scenes of chaos of this fire, like incredible, like the fire budget alone, which I can't wait to talk about. There's no CGI. This is
just
all
real fire, and real buildings falling.
They spent like $1.5 million to build this set, burned like at least a third of it down. $500,000 in 1938 money. We see Jack being advised by people at the mayor's house or wherever he lives that the only solution to really save other neighborhoods is to create a fire break to stop the fire, which involves essentially, so a fire break is the reason the fire can jump from one building to another because the buildings are so close together, and if they demolish a whole street essentially with dynamite, the distance between the fire and whatever it can set on fire is too big, and the fire can't jump from building to building to building. So they're like, fuck, this is our only option before it, like, the whole city goes up in
the building
flames.
that they want to demolish is the Senate, is Dion's place, yeah? Am I wrong with that?
That's the block.
Yeah, the block it's on.
It's like they're demolishing the whole block. Of course
it's the Senate.
Cut to Belle. She is despondent because the love of her life who married her betrayed her, and also her house is slightly on fire, and Hattie, her maid, is just like, we have
snap
to get the fuck
out of it.
Like, yeah, we do not have time. I'm not trying to catch on fire. I think Dion finds Bob and Gretchen learns.
Bob has sent Gretchen and Mom and the baby in a carriage to try and get to the north side of Chicago, which is away from the fire.
Yeah.
Bob has stayed to help
fleeing to the lake.
Bob has stayed to help the firemen, so he's like pumping water, and Dion runs in, sees Bob and grabs him, and he's just like, "Where's Jack?" And Bob reveals, no, this started in our barn. There was a thing that happened, I don't know, Daisy must have knocked something over, and Dion realizes, fuck, it wasn't my brother, and now there's all of these gangsters run by Warren who's out for Jack's blood.
Yeah, an angry gangster mob is gonna be going after my brother.
Big Gangs of New York energy, like...
We see Ma and Gretchen with the baby in the carriage, trying to make their way like through this flood of people. But similarly to the very beginning of the film, the horse part of the carriage becomes detached, and so they have to walk the rest of the way,
and they get separated.
So then there's like a crush of people, but they get separated because they are initially together, and then Ma's like, Gretchen has the baby, and Ma's like, fuck, I left that portrait of my husband in the carriage, so she goes back for it, and that's how they get separated. And they get separated also because like the crowd panics because like part of a building collapses, like crazy effect.
It was a very cool effect for 1938. Wow.
Yeah, we cut back to Dion, and Dion learns, he like gets to the block where the Senate is, because that's where he thinks Warren and the cronies are still waiting for him. He also learns that the Senate is going to be included in the fire break. It's going to be exploded, dynamited, whatever. And there's like a police barricade. They're like, sir, you can't go any further. But Dion sneaks past the police and goes up to Jack
warn
to
him,
grab his shoulders. About Warren and his thugs. And Jack's like, you again? Fuck off. And he punches him again. I said I never wanted to see you again.
But that's when Bob comes running up and is like, no, listen, this thing is happening. This mob is after you. They want to stop you from blowing up these buildings.
They think you caused this fire, and you want to blow up the whole neighborhood. Like, this is your solution. And Jack's like, what?
Fuck.
No.
And Dion is just like, I thought that too, and I'm sorry. And he's like, fuck you. And so... and
I'll deal with you later.
So then we get this mob, and it's this mob against this barricade of police officers, and Dion goes between them and tries to stop the mob, saying, listen, I was wrong, like, this wasn't started by my brother, he's just trying to save, like, the rest of Chicago, we need to blow this up, and Warren is just like, fuck no, I've been bamboozled by you one too many times, fool me once!
It's just part of your grand swindling scheme.
So a whole fight breaks out, but in the midst of this, Dion goes with this running torch, like the Olympian torch runner, and tries to go and set this dynamite off, but someone throws a rock at him
before Warren
and like hits him in the back of the head, and he goes bonk on the ground. At which point Jack goes running, he grabs the torch, he actually gets to set off all of these like hanging strings of
yeah, because what they've done is they put the dynamite on the second floor of the building with the lighter strings dangling out of all the windows. So Jack is like using this torch, he's holding it up, and he's lighting all the strings and going along the building. At which point
someone shoots him.
So Warren's had this one main thug goon named
Rondo? Yeah.
Rondo, which is actually
the actor's
like
name. It was never named.
The actor's name, Rondo. Yeah. And Warren has Rondo shoot at Jack, and he is wounded, but he doesn't go down. And then in this cacophony, like the threads on the dynamite are getting shorter,
and all of the gangsters, goons, mob try and run to take the strings out, but it's too far, and they're like, fuck, it's already gonna blow, and if one of them goes, then the whole thing's gonna go. So they all run for their lives. Bob has pulled Dion out of the way, but Jack is still under the building, basically shot, and the whole thing explodes and buries Jack.
Yeah. So Dion and Bob survive, but Jack, the only good one. Actually, that's not true. Bob's good too.
Just doing his job.
Jack is killed. So because we've established that, like, people had their own livestock, like, this is a city, but also, like, the O'Learys had a cow. We cut really quickly to a major cattle pen, and all these cows, like, hundreds of cows, are spooked, understandably, by the dynamite. They break through their barricade, and they run through the streets of Chicago.
And then we get Mufasa's death scene.
Warren Warren sees them coming and climbs up the side of a building to get out of the way, but he climbs onto
like a drain pipe.
It's not a rain pipe, but it's essentially a drain pipe, and the drain pipe becomes unattached, and Warren falls to
Long
his death,
live the
Mufasa
king,
style.
untrampled under the
Long live the
wildebeest.
king.
Like,
oh my god, by the cows of Chicago, and Warren is killed.
okay, so then cut to a whole bunch of people. Again, this is all interspersed with like scenes of mass panic. There's a huge crush of people. There's this whole kerosene factory, so they're trying to save that from blowing, because if that blows, then the rest of Chicago's gonna go.
I don't think I had
that was a thing. There was like a little boat captain that was just like, stop it. So eventually...
Maybe I had that, and I was just so over this film.
Fine.
By that point, I was just like, it's not
important. The rest of this, honestly, is not important. If we want to just skip to, like, everyone lives, like, but...
No, I do want to say...
Dion and Bob help save Gretchen and the baby. They get across the river. Belle is trying to get to the water. Belle is trying to get to the water and finds Mrs. O'Leary, and basically, against her will, drags her to the water.
Yeah, because Ma is despondent because that portrait that she went back for has been absolutely crushed by the stampede, and it's like,
priorities,
my
Mom.
Life, my love. But Belle essentially just bodies Mrs. O'Leary to the lake.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want to be saved by the likes of you, and Belle's like, tough shit.
And I do want to say, and I'm going to cover this when we talk about production, but there is a massive lake. I mean, it's Chicago. And everyone
it's a great lake.
Has fled to safety is just like standing in the shallows of the lake with all their worldly belongings on their backs. And Dion gets to the water, looks for Ma or Belle, and he finds them both in a boat. But Dion has to deliver the news that Jack has been killed. And Dion tries to make up with Belle, and after she initially refuses because she's smart, they decide they have to live with each other.
And also Mom, like, shames Belle. She's like, what kind of woman are you to, like, turn down my poor baby boy? There's, like, a theme of mothers calling grown-ass men baby boys, and I don't like it.
Yeah, what's up
I don't like that at all.
And then
the stupidest ending in the world, the dumbest monologue ever.
Dion and Belle look at, like, Chicago on fire. They're like, oh my god, how will we ever live after this? And Ma looks at Chicago in flames, the flames reflecting in her eyes, and gives a speech about how she alone has hope that they will rise from the ashes of the city of Chicago.
She was like, and then the sacrifice that my son made, his dream will be realized. It's horrible ending. And then it ends with, like, happy music as, like, the city burns and 300 people die.
As the city burns! As this major metropolis burns, we get happy, hopeful music. Fuck off. Fuck off, 20th Century Fox.
And that's the end, y'all.
That's in old Chicago.
Anna,
Jesus
I told you that
Christ.
I enjoyed this movie, and you gave me a face. What I enjoyed about this movie was the political intrigue, the backstabbing plotline of Dion.
And I'll agree
I enjoyed that plotline. That was fun. I did a big pearl clutch at one point.
That's the only aspect I liked of him.
Well, like, the whole moment where he, like, revealed right after the marriage that it was only to make sure that she couldn't testify against him, because I didn't have that court scene in the beginning that, like, set this up. That was out of nowhere, and I was just like, I did, like, a big gasp. It was like the Hans O. Anna, if only someone loved you moment for me. Like, it was a lot. So, while, yes, huge problematic elements of the entirety of Dion and, like, the treatment of women, bad. The political...
Abysmal.
The plotline element of, like, this whole fighting brothers, the good, the bad, and the Bob. God
fucking damn it. That's gonna be your tagline, isn't it?
I didn't mean to. That actually
if that doesn't
just came out of my mouth. The good, the bad, and the Bob. I feel like that's the perfect tagline for this movie.
I'm so angry. Drinks wine angrily.
I liked that plotline. I thought him being a swindler and out-swindling a whole bunch and, like, having his, him being too boastful and that being his, like, main downfall and, like, all of that wrapping up in this cataclysmic historical event felt very much in terms of the same, not plot line, but same setup as Titanic, where it's this love story and it's, like, this back and forth, the rich guy, the poor guy, her true love, and then they just happen to be in this whole thing
on the Titanic.
So, like, that sort of setup, it felt very similar. I enjoyed that setup, and the bare bones building blocks of this movie, I think, are good. The entire script.
It's like Les Miserables. It's like this love story that just happens to take place
during the French Revolution. However, that being said, all of that being said, it is desperately bad dialogue.
Yes, I found the writing bad. I found the acting difficult, even though they all won Oscars. I hear what you're saying, and I agree to a certain extent about the political intrigue. The brother against brother narrative is really, really interesting, especially of, like, Dion thinking he can control his brother, and then his brother absolutely saying no. I would have liked, if that's what the focus is going to be, I would have liked more of a narrative of their earlier years and of either Dion controlling Jack or the other way around, like a battle for power.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. With modern writers, I feel like they could have done better.
It set no precedent that Dion could count on swindling his brother. There was just a broad assumption because he was a swindler of other people. But so it would have made the portrayal of Jack, or rather Jack sticking to his guns and Dion viewing it as a betrayal, more powerful. I also would posit there's no need for Belle to be a performer.
No.
There's no... Like, yes, I get that, like, Dion is running a saloon. I would have loved her to be, like, a savvy businesswoman of the time.
Which I think they tried to intimate that she was, but there was never any evidence that was actually the case.
Literally the only reason she's a showgirl so they can have a couple songs. Like, there was no need. And I would have found her narrative a lot more interesting if she had been, like, a female business owner of this time trying to succeed.
Like, if she had run the original bar... And then Warren was just, like, one of her patrons, as opposed to Warren running the original bar, and she was, like, so if she had more agency, it would have been more interesting.
Yeah, and, like, they implied that she's being paid so well that, yes, she married for love and was subsequently betrayed. She would have been fine financially.
Yeah, but it's just heartbreak, which, fair.
Yeah, I just found the plot was not about her success as a performer.
Pointless. Okay.
Shall we do a little drinks and dramaturgy?
Definitely drinks. Probably dramaturgy.
Great. What are you drinking? You said you're drinking a Chardonnay.
I have a fizzy Chardonnay Pinot Noir. I don't know why it says Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. Maybe those are just the types of grapes. Anyway, it was very cheap, and it was at my grocery store. So, cheers.
I also have a fizzy Chardonnay. All right. I didn't know anything about the Great Fire of Chicago, 1871. Other than that, I think I knew that it was a thing. It wasn't the first time I'd heard of it, but I didn't know anything about it. Okay. This film was directed by Henry King, who had an illustrious, versatile career in Hollywood as a director, over 3 decades worth of work. He was a contract director for 20th Century Fox, who did this production. He worked from 1930 to 1961. He was renowned specifically for his work as a director on literary adaptation films. In addition to this, which was based on a memoir, The Sun Also Rises and A Bell for Adano, and as well as his depictions of rural, small-town America, such as the 1946 film Margie. Though he was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, he never won. He also, we will see him if we ever do the 1933 State Fair or the 1956 Carousel.
Which we probably will. Carousel, absolutely.
We probably will. Carousel. But I feel like there's been a couple carousels.
Yeah. But I think the 56 one is, like...
So we'll see.
The identifying one. Anyway.
I don't need to do State Fair again, but if we do, we'll see Henry. All right. The cinematographer for this was an even bigger deal. And we haven't come across him yet. His name was John Peverell Marley. He sometimes went as J. Peverell Marley.
Cool.
He was an American cinematographer. He's one of only 6 cinematographers with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. His first film as a cinematographer was the 1923 Cecil B. DeMille 10 Commandments.
Fuck off. Wow, what a first job.
His first job. He became DeMille's like go-to cameraman, and he worked with DeMille like for the rest of his career. Like that's 10 Commandments is definitely what he is best known for, but like talk about an illustrious career. And that's all I've got for director and cinematography.
Cool. I'm going to speed through the writers because I have an actress that I want to talk about. All right.
It
is
is
Alice Faye. She's so cool.
Are you going to talk about the rumored preliminary casting for this film?
A little bit. Yes.
Okay.
This, as you had mentioned, was based originally on sort of a novel, a memoir kind of thing. It's interesting because there's a writer for this, and then there's 2 screenwriters, or like screenplay writers for this. So the writer for this was Niven Bush. It's an American novelist, screenwriter. He did Postman Always Rings Twice, Duel in the Sun, California Street. The screenwriters, there were 2 of them. Sonia Levian, I believe is how it's pronounced. So,
Levain? Like the bakery?
Potentially. She was a Russian-born American screenwriter. She became one of the highest-earning female screenwriters in Hollywood and would help several directors and film stars transition from silent films to talkies. And in 1955, she received an Academy Award for her screenplay, Interrupted Melody. She was cool because she avoided being categorized as someone who only wrote films for women, and she was experienced in all genres from like Western to gangster films to disaster films. Like, forte was adapting outside material for a film. Lamar Trotty was the other one. So he started as a reporter in the silent era and ended up as an executive at Fox Film Corporation after their merger with 20th Century Pictures to become 20th Century Fox. And he remained with the company until his death. He wrote about 50 films for the studio and produced many of them. Damn. He won an Academy Award in 1944 for Wilson and was nominated for Young Mr. Lincoln. And There's No Business Like Show Business. So he was the writer for No Business Like Show Business 1952, which we've already gone through. Now, the music, the very, very limited music.
No memorable songs.
No memorable songs. However, the composer for that, one of them, was Sidney Clare. And Sidney Clare was an American comedian, dancer, and composer. And his best-known songs were On the Good Ship Lollipop, which was introduced by Shirley Temple. So that was his, like, big claim to fame. He also did the film scores for Street Girl, Transatlantic Merry-Go-Round, The Littlest Rebel, Bright Eyes, Rascals, like a lot of Shirley Temple stuff. And, cool fun fact, the Oxford English Dictionary credits Sidney Clare with the earliest usage of the term rock and roll in 1934 on the soundtrack for the movie Transatlantic Merry-Go-Round. So that's why I wanted to talk about that, because that was, like, a cool thing.
I love that. That's a cool little tidbit.
Now, getting into actors and casting.
All right, hit me.
Alice Faye. She was Belle. She played Belle. And as she was the only person who sang in this, I was like, well, she's the one that I have to do. I'm really glad I did, because she's super, super cool. She was an American actress and singer and musical star of 20th Century Fox in the 1930s and 40s. So her first major film break was in 1934 when Lillian Harvey abandoned a lead role in the film George White's Scandals. And she was first hired just to perform a musical number with, I believe, Frankie Valli. She ended up being so well liked by the director that she ended up being cast as the female lead. So she became a popular film star for audiences of the 1930s, particularly when the production head, Daryl F. Zanuck, made her his protege. So he sort of changed her aesthetic, because originally she started as like this wisecracking vaudeville showgirl into sort of a youthful but like approachable figure for her roles, especially in her Shirley Temple films, because she was in quite a few of those. Now, she was cast as the female lead in Old Chicago. Now, originally, this role had been written for Jean Harlow. However, Jean Harlow was with another production company that had done, the San Francisco disaster one. And and they tried to be like, hey, oh God, who was the other actor? Was it Clark Gable?
It was MGM. It was Clark Gable.
Yeah.
They were both with MGM.
And Fox was like, hey, lend us those two people and we'll do a disaster movie too. And MGM was like, no. And
It was also rumored that Fox was like, if you loan us Harlow and Gable for this film, we'll loan you Shirley Temple for anything you want to do. It's just a rumor, though.
Obviously, that did not go through.
It also didn't go through because Jean Harlow passed away.
That also happened. But, so Alice Faye got tapped instead. Now, the one thing that they talked about was how the recreation of the fire, like the last 20-minute sequence, was apparently so dangerous that all women, except for the main stars, were banned from set. But this film was her first time appearing with two other actors who she ended up being paired with most frequently in the future, and that is Tyrone Power, who played Dion, and then Don Ameche. Don Ameche is Jack. So Jack and...
Oh, duh.
Yeah.
That other brother.
Yeah, the other brother. So basically the two brothers, she ended up doing a lot of work with them later in her career, because it was common for people to pair actors together at this time. In 1939, she was named as one of the top 10 box office draws in Hollywood. Because of her bankable status, Fox would occasionally put Alice Faye in films more for the sake of, she's a box office draw rather than, showcasing her talents. So, there were a couple of films that were way more dramatic and didn't feature her singing that they just threw her into just because she was really, really popular and not because it would actually make sense for her to be in it. And honestly, it worked. None of the films that she made between 1930 and 1940 lost money. So this garnered her, the nickname Queen of Fox. In 1940, she was up for this lead role in Down Argentine Way, but she got sick and so she turned it down, and she was replaced by the newest musical star, which is Betty Grable. Now, later on, she was paired as a sister act with Grable in another movie in 1940 called Tin Pan Alley. And there's this rumor that, the tabloids pulled up that there was, this, animosity between the two, but, in her biography, Faye was just that was completely fake. We were super close. I really loved her. We were really good friends. Because this is something that Hollywood would do.
This is making me think of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Oh, yeah.
Which I never finished, but that's being pitted against each other by the studios was a thing.
Now, in 1943, at this point, Alice Faye had her first daughter, so she took some time off. And eventually came back to the musical Hello Frisco, Hello, which was released at the height of World War II, and it became one of her highest grossing pictures. This is when she won her Academy Award for the Best Song. She continued to work during the war years. However, family life became more important to her, especially whenever she got pregnant again and had her second daughter. After her second daughter's birth, she signed a new contract saying, hey, I'm only going to make one movie a year with the option of a second one, but I just want to spend more time with my family. And because of this, she ended up not being cast in the role in A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, which was this huge dramatic role that went to Joan Blundell.
Yeah.
Now, for her final role with Fox, it was a bit of a drama, which is why I wanted to put it in here. So, she accepted the lead role in Fallen Angel in 1945. Now, it was originally designed and sold to her as a vehicle for her. However, the producer, Zanuck, tried to build his new protege, Linda Darnell, and ordered that many of Alice Faye's scenes to be cut and Linda Darnell to be emphasized. So when Faye saw a screening of the final cut with her role reduced by 12 scenes and a song cut, she wrote a scathing note to Zanuck, went straight to her car, gave her dressing room keys to the studio gate guard, drove home, and said never again. But she was so popular that she got thousands of letters sent to her, and thousands of letters were sent to the Fox studios begging her to return for another picture. However, she refused. So after Fallen Angel, Faye's contract called for her to make 2 more movies, but she said fuck no, and Zanuck hit back by having her blackballed for breach of contract and effectively ended her film career, though at this point she was so sick of everything that she was just fuck it, I don't want to anyway. So this was her last, Fallen Angel was her last starring film.
That sucks.
Under public pressure, that producer, Zanuck, tried to lure her back, but she returned every single script unopened. However, we have seen her before. So, she was really, really popular in Great Britain, and after she retired, all of her like reissued films made a bunch of money as current releases, and she returned one more time to film for State Fair. She was in State Fair. She was Mom.
No!
Yeah!
Oh!
She was Mom with the mincemeat.
With the boozy mincemeat! Oh! Oh!
Doesn't that just make your
That makes
heart
me
happy? Because,
happy.
like, I read that and I was like...
That makes my heart
I know,
sing.
because I was like, oh, who should I do? And then I saw that and I was just like, it was amazing. So,
It's Mom!
a little bit about her life after movies, because she had a big career after that in radio comedy. So her husband was bandleader Phil Harris, her second husband and her eventual like long-term like her life partner was bandleader Phil Harris. Their marriage was so successful that it became the plot line in a hit radio comedy, the Jack Benny program, where Harris was like a regular cast member. And they ended up working together in radio and had their own, like, it ended up evolving by 1948.
Oh, they had
their own show, the Phil Harris and Alice Faye show, in which it was like strictly like situational comedy and like music interludes. And it was really, really, it was like top 10 radio programs in the country.
Wow.
So, and also it was really great because since the radio only required her to be present for like read through and live broadcasts, she was still able to like spend time with her family and help raise her daughters. So she still killed the game. Now, once she'd passed, there were a lot of people who came out, and Irving Berlin was once quoted as saying that he would choose Alice Faye over any other singer to introduce his songs, and George Gershwin and Cole Porter also called her the best female singer in Hollywood.
Wow. Oh, I have
Yeah,
goosebumps.
during her years as a musical superstar, Alice Faye managed to introduce 23 songs to Hit Parade, and she was the first female crooner that was equivalent to Bing Crosby. So she was a really phenomenal, cool person, and I know I spent a lot of time talking about her, but I felt like she really deserved time devoted to her. She was really awesome.
I agree.
So that is Alice Faye, our lovely Belle.
Okay. I don't have a lot for reviews and reception. I'm going to talk a little bit about production, but in terms of reviews, reception, it was a successful film. The general critique was that like it's so stunning visually and it's got a really memorable third act, but like there are plot holes, like what we've talked about, how there was no need for Belle to be a performer, this musical numbers solely existed for that. It didn't need to be a musical. It wasn't a musical. But as I mentioned, when it was made, it was one of the most expensive films ever made in Hollywood. This is a review from the Chicago Tribune from September 5th, 1937. And it's about the film, but it's also just like about the production, like 3 months of construction work, 8 weeks of camera production. What they ended up burning for the final act was equivalent to $500,000 worth of ashes, essentially, in 1937. Like that's what it cost. And the budget was three times that, essentially. It cost the studio $500,000 to
burn it down, basically.
To burn it down. And that's including like the materials that were lost in that. Like it cost them $50,000 to build and then burn this set. But this article is really interesting because it gets into how they made it historically accurate. And it's kind of a shame. Like we watched it on YouTube and I wonder how much detail is just lost to the ages because of film quality.
Yeah, for sure.
All in all, it got good reviews. The disaster movies will always have a audience.
And like a big climactic third act that really has nothing to do with the previously set up plot.
That's all I've got really for reviews, reception,
that's fair.
General production costs. You want to talk about singing and dancing?
Alice Faye was the only singer. She has a lovely voice, but I don't think that she was highlighted vocally here. No. As we mentioned,
none of the songs were memorable. It felt very much just like, let's throw some songs in because Alice
she's a singer. They didn't like, let's do this. Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't move the plot forward at all. It was not a musical.
No, there were more than 2 songs, so, that's better than some of our other ones.
In the context of a performance. Yes, that's true.
God, what was that Marx Brother one that literally only had 2 songs and they were only in the context of performance and we were like, oh no.
Oh God. It had the 3, I don't remember. A Night at the Opera.
Yeah, that was the one.
A Night at the Opera.
So it had 4 songs. 3 of them were Belle. One of them was that one dude that showed up once. And then there was like the little jig around the piano.
Yeah, that's right. The family sang at home, but it was still performative.
Yeah, it was something that would happen.
And the only dancing was the can ladies at the saloon.
And that wasn't like remarkable.
And the jig. Yeah, no, neither were remarkable. I can imagine the can was scandalous then, because look at all women have legs since when?
Knees? In my house?
In this economy?
Now, we've already talked a lot about our gripes in terms of Dion's behavior, in terms of the dialogue, in terms of the lack of setup about the relationship and the previous relationship between the 2 main brothers. So I honestly feel like if you took the basic setup and gave it to someone better, this could have been a better movie.
Yeah, that's a good gripe. I don't really have anything specific gripe-wise other than what I have said before, is that Belle did not need to be a singer. It did not move the plot forward. It was not a driving plot point. If it had been about like her struggles to be a performer, that would be one thing.
Or if it was her struggles to be that she had been like extremely a business
successful
owner in the 1980s as an unmarried woman.
Yeah.
Not 1980s, 1890s.
That would have been super
Yeah, that would have been really interesting. But again, they just threw in some musical numbers for no reason.
For shits and
giggles.
gigs.
Speaking of giggles,
and called it a musical.
Did you have any?
I had unintentional giggles, and that there were a couple points where I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like flabbergasted giggles.
My giggle was the big fight between Dion and
I was gonna say,
Dion.
It was the
over the desk back roll. Like, it was gorgeous. Loved it every second. It was amazing.
God.
And do you have any fun facts?
I do. I have 2 fun facts. One of which was that there are 2 lengths of
which
this
we
film,
have apparently established because Anna saw the longer one.
I can't. It was 111 minutes for the longer one, and then the shorter one's 95. Yeah. So I saw almost 20 more minutes. And what's interesting is, so the original film was 111, and then it was re-released in 1943, and it was cut to 45 minutes. And the longer version was thought to be lost right up until 2005.
Oh, recent.
In 2002.
Yeah.
Because, like, the shorter version was what was, like, consistently re-released. It came out again in 1994. And it wasn't until 2002, almost 100 years later, that someone found the missing footage. And a 2005 release included both the shorter and longer versions.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And for the most part, it seemed like smaller inconsequential scenes were cut, except for that
big courtroom scene. They should have kept that. Because that's, like, really fucking important.
I agree.
My fun fact is that this is one of 4 basically disaster movies that were released within 2 years of each other, and this was the final one. So it started in 1936 with San Francisco, which depicted the 1906 earthquake, which was the MGM movie. And then there was The Good Earth, which was, like, about a locust plague, again, act of God. And then there was History is Made at Night, which is like a shipwreck, apparently. I don't know what shipwreck it's referring to, because I didn't look it up.
Let's see.
And then the of course the final of these 4 like back-to-back disaster films was In Old Chicago, which was this one, which is a fictionalized version of what happened.
So it really feels like the San Francisco film
kicked it off.
Was the first real disaster film, and then every Hollywood executive was like,
I gotta get one of these. And then it ended with In Old Chicago like 2 years later, and then like didn't seem to continue the trend. But it's interesting that there were 4
until like Twister.
And then it's interesting that there were 4 of these like back to back, all
about, like,
doing
Hollywood
different
fads.
Like disaster films of things.
I'm imagining the writers being like, fuck, what disaster hasn't
Which
been done
one
yet?
hasn't happened? Anyway, so that's my fun fact, was that
Christ.
this was like the culmination of 4 disaster films that came out at the same time.
Cool. I have one more fun fact, which I have referenced. I referenced in the court scene that was cut from your version, and I also referenced it in the scene where Dion's like, psych, now that we're married, Belle can't testify against me. So both of those plot devices are like, by being married to me, you can't testify against me. However,
Is that not real?
it's a half-truth. The law states that a wife cannot be compelled to testify against her husband. She
has to choose.
She can't be forced to. However, she still can testify of her own free will.
So basically, she can't, like, be subpoenaed to do so, but she could, if asked
exactly.
and she says yes, she could still go. Okay.
Exactly. She can't be forced, but she can do it of her own free will. Whereas the first court scene, the whole setup was that the wife hated the husband, so absolutely would have testified against him of her own free will. But they didn't get to that. Jack couldn't have forced... He could have called her to testify,
But if she didn't
but he couldn't
want
have
to,
forced her.
she didn't have
She
to.
didn't have to.
Interesting. Anyway.
But it's funny that they were just like, we're going to ignore that minor loophole.
Yeah, just say, nope. Do you have homework? You had one that you mentioned.
do
I
have
don't
homework.
remember what it was.
I did. My homework is to read that review from the Chicago Tribune from 1937.
Got you. Do you know what's terrifying, y'all? Fire tornadoes. You should look them up. They're really interesting phenomena, and they're the main reason about why the Great Chicago Fire happened. And it is terrifying. And I watched some videos, and I have the link to the Wikipedia article. It is awful. Anyway, I think that's all she wrote.
I do think that's all she wrote.
She wrote a lot this one.
this is
She
gonna
wrote
be fun
more
to
this
edit.
one than I thought.
She wrote a lot. Well, y'all, if you are still with us for this not musical film,
Sorry.
thank you for sticking around. I've been Anna.
I'm still Grace.
This has been 5678, a movie musical podcast. Take care of yourself and others. Goodbye.
Bye.
5, 6, 7, 8.
There's no business like show business, like no business I know.